Now, following the repeal of net neutrality protections by the FCC back in December, a lot of states have signaled their intention to institute their own forms of net neutrality in the states. It is their way of course, fighting back against the FCC under Agit Pi. Now, Washington has just become the first state to set up and pass its net neutrality requirements. Now, Governor Jay Inslee, who just signed this into law, said that, quote, "We know that when D.C. fails to act, Washington state has to do so. We know how important this is." And net neutrality is incredibly important. In fact, it's been shown that small businesses actually thrive when it comes to net neutrality rules, when we actually have those rules in place. Now, these rules, in case you need a reminder, are meant to prevent broadband companies such as Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon, who lobbied vociferously to be able to remove these net neutrality protections, to roll them back, from gaining more control over what people see and watch on the internet. Now, the regulations also prohibited providers from favoring some certain sites and apps over other sites and apps. Now, the new law in Washington requires internet providers to disclose information about their management practices, performance, and commercial terms. Violations would be enforceable under the state's Consumer Protection Act, and it would also stop state agencies from buying internet service from any company that blocks or prioritizes specific content or apps starting in 2019. Now, the net neutrality repeal goes into effect in spring. That's, of course, unless Congress gets together and does a Congressional Review Act. Now, Washington isn't the only state. It's the first state, but there are other states that are looking into this as well. Governors in 5 states, Hawaii, New Jersey, New York, Montana, and Vermont, have signed executive orders related to net neutrality issues, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Montana's order, for example, bars telecommunications companies from receiving state contracts if they interfere with internet traffic or favor higher-paying sites or apps. Now, of course, the telecommunications industry, they are not happy. Their lobbyists are not happy. And a lot of Republicans in Congress are not happy. Now, they say that net neutrality rules could undermine investment in broadband and introduce uncertainty about what are acceptable business practices. Well, you know what's unacceptable? Blocking and throttling content, favoring your apps and your sites over competitors' apps. That is unacceptable. I think they should know that by now. That's the reason that a majority of Americans actually believe in net neutrality rules and support net neutrality rules. You have over 80%, you have 75% of Republican voters that are like, yes, we believe in free speech on the internet. We believe that all speech should be created or treated equally on the internet. Yeah, Republicans. Now, why aren't your representatives representing you, Republicans? Oh, that's right, because they represent big business and corporations. Anyway, now, they also, net neutrality advocates say the FCC decision harms innovation and makes it harder for the government to crack down on internet providers who act against consumer interests. Now, look, a lot of the arguments against net neutrality are like, well, but wait, we didn't need net neutrality before Obama came in and wrecked the internet. No, the whole point of passing net neutrality rules is because companies were abusing the principle of net neutrality in the first place. Now, when the internet was created and started going mainstream, there was a universal agreement in place that the government would not come in and overregulate the internet, and the companies would not try to go in and unfairly screw over their customers. Now, corporations decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to break that agreement. And let me give you some examples of how they broke those agreements. In 2005, Madison River Communications was blocking voice over IP services. Now, the FCC ended up having to take to put a stop to it. In 2005, Comcast was also denying access to P2P servers without notifying customers. In 2007, AT&T censored Pearl Jam because they had the audacity to criticize President Bush. Now in 2007, AT&T also was having Skype and other voice over IP programs blocked because they didn't like that there was competition for their cell phones. Again, they stood to personally profit. In 2010, Windstream Communications, which is a DSL provider, started hijacking search results made from using a Google toolbar and would consistently redirect users to Windstream's search engine and results. In 2011, Metro PCS tried to block all streaming content except for YouTube. And they ended up suing the FCC over that decision when the FCC went to block it. Not only that, but in 2011 through 2013, AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon had blocked access to Google Wallet. Now, this happened literally months after they were all busted collaborating with Google to block apps from the Android marketplace. So, there's more. In 2012, Verizon had demanded Google block tethering apps on Android devices because it would let owners avoid their $20 tethering fee. Now, this is despite them saying, oh, no, we won't do that. Oh, really? You wouldn't do that? Well, you said you didn't do that. You wouldn't do that, but it looks like you went and did it anyway. Now, a lot of these companies that are like, we promise we're not going to block or throttle if you remove net neutrality, are the same companies that would block and throttle, that promised not to block and throttle before net neutrality rules, and had done so anyway. In fact, Verizon was fined $1.25 million over blocking these tethering apps on Android. There's more. In 2012, AT&T tried to block access to FaceTime unless customers paid more money. In 2014, AT&T also announced a new sponsored data scheme offering content creators a way to buy their way around data caps that AT&T imposes on its subscribers. Not only that, but Netflix had to start paying Verizon and Comcast to, quote, improve streaming service for consumers. Basically, what that was a ransom. That's why Netflix was on the side of net neutrality. He was like, hey, man, look, I don't want to pay this damn ransom to you guys just to make sure you don't slow down my app. Now, T-Mobile was also accused of using data caps to manipulate online competition. And that's just some of the cases. This is why we need net neutrality. This is why promises that these ISPs make are complete and utter bullshit. But Ron Main, who's the executive director of the Broadband Communications Association of Washington, which opposed the bill, said cable companies his group represents have already pledged not to block legal content or engage in paid prioritization. But again, the problem is that your companies were already caught doing paid prioritization and doing data caps and blocking access to sites that are not their own. That is why we need net neutrality. We're not going to believe in this bullshit that you have. No, we need net neutrality rules. We need them back. Because, look, as soon as those rules are gone, come springtime, it's open season on us again. And we're not having it. Now, this is a great move by Washington. Look, even though right now we seem to have lost in the federal level, yes, we need one more senator to get on board with the Congressional Review Act. We got less than 60 days in order to reverse the decision by the FCC. If we can't get that done, at least we can get stuff done in the states. And that's where we can actually have an impact and actually do something to be able to have some measure of net neutrality rules. Now, this is going to be challenged in the courts, of course, because the FCC says, well, we're going to put in a law into this repeal that will block, that will preempt you from creating these laws. But there is a chance that the FCC doesn't actually have the authority to do that, all that's going to be settled once the lawsuits start flying. And believe me, they are coming. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.